we are not certain if a direction that you're thinking of going in is the right call. Sometimes there's a 50-50 thing there. So iridology definitely gives me a backup to that. So usually what I do,
so let's go back. I want to back up the bus first, though, because I know you're a fabulous iridologist, but I want to know more about before. Was it difficult to, you alluded to the idea that it might have been challenging to come up with a program that you knew was going to hit the mark.
Right.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
That it was okay. And so how did you deal with that? I mean, if you're creating programs that you felt good about, but they didn't quite land, how did you handle that?
Well, actually, with that program, I could triangulate with everything that I was doing. I have a system of 3 different things that I look at when I make those calls of how I'm going to help a person. But with iridology, it opens a whole nother door for me because I get a complete blueprint of genetic background. So it gives me a better direction on where to go. So as far as that goes, but the other thing too is there are signs that are in the sclera and in the iris that won't necessarily show up on a physical test, but they are present in the body. So that's where it's a tremendous help for me.
Excellent. Had you tried anything else? You've got your good core training in nutrition and gut health. Mm-hmm. Had you tried any other modalities before you finally decided to try iridology?
No. Actually, iridology was something that when I first heard of it, I had never even heard of it before my certified natural health practitioner schooling. Mm-hmm. And when I first learned about it, but it was basically just like a day or two spent on touching on different points of it. And as we know, iridology is a whole new world of its own. But when I first learned about that, I was hooked. I just thought, oh my gosh, I have got to learn more about this. And it took me several years before I was able to. And then when I did, it was very difficult to find a class. I had looked around, and actually something that I was looking at was in British Columbia, and it would entail me to spend 6 weeks there. Wow. So yes, for 1 and 2. And then when I found you on Facebook, I believe it was, and I started sitting in on your programs that you hold, and I decided that that was the way for me to go. And boy, am I glad that I did. I mean, Judith, you're amazing. So there's no other program out there like yours. You're very hands-on. You're very, just a very loving and compassionate teacher. You want everyone to succeed. And I just can't say enough good things about you.
Well, thank you, Karyn. I appreciate that. So rolling things back a tad again, you had been exposed to iridology, mm-hmm. but it wasn't quite as much as what you've got now, that's for sure. Did you find that iridology gave you the same kinds of information as what Confident Nutritionists did?
Oh, certainly not. So as I mentioned, we only touched on that for maybe a day or something. Mm-hmm. And we just learned just very basic things, like there are, the constitutions, there are 3 constitutions, and just we learned about radial furrows and just very small basic things like that.
Okay. So how has having iridology, because you graduated and you certified with IPA, and you really jumped through the hoops and you worked hard. Actually, I want to ask a different question before I ask the one I was thinking of. When you were looking for a class and you found Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology Assessment System, did you have any concerns about taking the class, about enrolling? Like about the time commitment or the financial investment or any of that?
The only concern that I had was it was actually the first online class that I've ever taken. And I had it in my mind that iridology had to be a hands-on thing, to be in person and one-on-one in order to learn all these details. And that just quickly dissipated with the way that the class was presented and just how we do things. And actually, the way it was done online, the way you have your classes, Judith, it's way better than even one-on-one training, because we have a class and everybody has input, everybody can ask questions. It's just a really fun learning environment.
Oh, that's excellent. So the group dynamic really worked for you, but so did the fact that you didn't have to take 6 weeks away from home.
Yeah, that was a nice plus.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to make that happen.
Yeah, right. I mean, how would you make that happen? Even if you had to go away for 4 or 5 days and do that twice, that's a huge investment of time and lost income and all kinds
Expense.
of
Yeah.
things. Yeah. So with this then, what was the hardest part of doing the course? What did you find was the toughest from the beginning to the end?
This part, it's probably just the little technicalities, and I mean, still things that I don't know that you, of course, are very versed in. Just little details, and being able to look at an eye, an iris, and just identifying all the smaller details. Like, I'm at the point now where I can look at an iris and I know the big picture, but it's the little smaller things sometimes. So that for me is the hardest part.
All right. And so you liked the way the course was delivered. Was once a week for 2 hours a good time commitment for you?
Yes, it's perfect. I mean, it's very easy, very doable, not
Oh,
hard.
that is so good. So the teacher didn't give too much homework then.
Not too much.
So on to the question that I really wanted to, there's 2 questions that I really want to ask. How has having iridology, this constitutional iridology, the way we teach it in Confident Nutritionists, how has it changed the way you work with your clients?
Well, the way we teach it, the way I explain to people that come into my office, and 9 times out of 10, no one's even heard of iridology. So I'm giving them an introduction into it. And the people that have heard of it are more from the Jensenian type of view. So they think that, can you see if my eyes are going to change, that kind of thing. So, but when I introduce iridology to people, I just say, I tell them it's basically like, with your genetics, you're dealt a hand of cards, and you can either play them very well. You can have a good hand and play it very well, or you can play it bad. It just all depends on how you live your lifestyle and how those genetic qualities are going to affect you or not affect you.
That is such a good explanation, because one of my favorite sayings, and I share this in class a lot, is the idea of, can I get this right? Genetics loads the gun and your lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. Yes.
Right. So we can be dealt any kind of a hand, but what we do with it is what's really important. So before you did iridology, before you learned iridology, were you spending time outside of your client sessions creating client programs?
Not a huge amount of time, because the way Dr. Loomis's system is, there's not. I mean, it's all pretty organized and cut and dried. So, but iridology definitely adds another dimension to what I'm doing.
And do you find that with that, then the iridology makes your appointments longer, or does it help you process the information from Dr. Loomis more quickly?
Well, I kind of, at this point, I haven't perfected exactly, what I'm doing with the iridology. So right now I'm doing it a little bit separately.
Okay.
And so I'll have my regular progress interview. And then we'll kind of, I'll pull up my screen and then we'll kind of go over some things in the iris and we'll discuss those things. So.
Excellent. Excellent. So what benefits have you seen from using iridology in your practice?
Well, honestly, first of all, most of the people that have never heard of it, they're very interested. And so when they call back to make an appointment with me and, you know, decide that they want to, you know, progress with me, they'll say, I'm really interested in that iridology. So a lot of people find that fascinating, and I love that, you know, I'm just one of the small few that are spreading the word about how wonderful it is. But there are a lot of times, you know, like I mentioned before, where I have a judgment call to make. And so sometimes when I look in the sclera, I can see things that, you know, give me the answers that I need, or even in the iris. So that's how it helps me tremendously.
Excellent. I love that it sounds like what it helps you do is really nail your programs.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And isn't it nice to get rid of that trial and error that we used to go through creating programs?
Yes.
We'll just try this for a couple of weeks and see if it works. And then if it doesn't, we'll tweak that a little bit. Yeah, it's nice to have that confidence and to be more sure about things.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you think our viewers should know if they're considering taking an iridology course?
Yes. I've looked at other iridologists since having school with Judith, and the way that they have their programs and just the way they present things, they're just there's no difference. They're just, I mean, Judith is far and above. Just the way she's a way better program. The other thing that's really wonderful too is that with the Confident Nutritionist, we have those slides that we can go back to, those recordings, video. Judith does little video recordings about every single point that we go over in the iris. And you can always go back to that and refer, and boy, do I ever do that. I do that a lot still. And that is just such a wonderful thing to have. And of course, Judith is always there for support if you need it. Always, always, always. And on top of that, we have office hours. So if you're a graduate of Judith's, we go over different cases. You're allowed to present cases that you have and ask questions. I mean, it's just, you know, even after you graduate from her classes. So.
Wonderful. And that's, you know, the purpose of this course is to teach iridology, but it's also to teach how to use iridology. And then again, because I had such a fabulous teacher and mentor, you know, nearly 30 years ago, I'm emulating I'm emulating him, because the support that he gave me, and actually still continues to give me when I need a little boost. You know, we all need someone in our corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I go back to Bill, and he gives me that boost. And because he's so generous with his time to me and so kind and so patient, I do my very best to emulate that and to give that to my students as well, regardless of what stage of development they're in. I think it's interesting. I was just speaking with one of my business coaches today, and he lobbed out the idea, have you ever thought of doing a membership site for your students after they graduate and just charge them a monthly site to be able to hang out with you? And I went, no, and I won't. You know, that's not what I want to do. I want to create the community, and I think we're doing that. It's one of the things that I love seeing, Karyn, and I want to know how you feel about this, is that as you come into the program and you've got the students you're doing it with, and then as you hang out on the Facebook group and as you come to the office hours and you get to know other students, do you feel like we're building a community?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And Just the most wonderful, nicest group of people, every single one, all the new ones. It's just like iridology attracts the most wonderful people.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and I'm glad you've expressed it that way, because that is something that was very important to me, was that I create that that energy for my students to want to be a community. It's lonely being the only one, and sometimes you're the only iridologist who does this in your city. So it's not like you can get together and go for a cup of herb tea or go for a walk.
Yeah, that would be nice, but I don't even know how many there are in my state. Probably not many, and not that does the type of iridology that we do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that community I think is so important, because there are not very many of us who do this style of iridology, and so it's important for us to have that cozy place to hang out together. Karyn, thank you so much for doing this. I've enjoyed this tremendously. I hope you weren't too nervous.
No, it wasn't too bad, Judith. You didn't grill me too much.
No. Well, we covered everything that I wanted to, and you've had an opportunity to add some other bits and pieces. And so, yeah, I just thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for being such a good iridologist, and for serving your community as well, and your clients, and for just being a good example of what a good iridologist and a good holistic practitioner are. Thank you for that.
Well, you've been certainly a wonderful example to me. And another thing, Judith, it is anytime that we do any of these classes or the office hours or anything like that, it's like you're always so patient. You take all of your time with all of us. You never rush anyone or try to move things along or anything like that. You answer everyone's questions thoroughly. I mean, I can't say enough. I just couldn't ask for a more wonderful teacher than you.
Thank you, Karyn. Thank you so much. Well, I hope that everyone who's watching this or who sees it has gained a perspective on a couple of things. Number one, how iridology can be used in your practice to help you be a better holistic practitioner. And number two, how the course Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology Assessment System can help you to achieve that goal. So thanks again for being with us, and thank you so much, Karyn. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful evening.
You too, Judith. Thank you.
You bet. Bye for now.
Bye.